Hello, 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 and welcome to Most Writers Are Fans, the podcast that explores the intersection between writing and fandom. My name is Terry Bartley, and I'm your host. And things are about to change, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. So I had a meeting with a consultant several months ago, because I love this podcast. I think we're doing a great job. I really enjoy these interviews. I feel like I have really great conversations. I've been meeting a lot of great people, and I've been learning so much about writing and being an indie creative. It's been such a fulfilling experience. But the truth is, I'm not getting a huge response when it comes to the followers I get or the listens I get on the podcast apps or on YouTube or whatever. Like, I've been doing a lot of work, but there's not been much to sort of show for it. So I met with a consultant to kind of talk about how could I reorganize this podcast in such a way that could maybe make it more appealing to the casual listener. Because, like I said, I love the conversation I'm having, but I think I'm just not doing it quite how I need to be doing it. And what he suggested was that I should cater episodes towards a specific topic, like have some problem or issue that I'm going to be solving within that episode, and then talk to my guest who's a specialist or has dealt with that issue quite a bit about that problem. So that's what I'm going to be doing from here on out. And I feel good about it. I feel like it's going to be a nice shift. I'll be honest, I was very worried about this new format, but I did my first interview about a week ago and it went really well. And it wasn't actually all that challenging to talk about one issue the whole time. I was worried we were going to bounce around a lot, but we really didn't. We stayed stuck on the issue, and it probably was a good conversation for people who are curious about that topic. We got a lot of interesting things coming up. I've got a lot of repeat guests, which is kind of exciting because we don't do a ton of those here. We have it in the past, but I think we may be seeing more of it. But we're going to bring back people that I've talked to before who are really great at the things they do and have a lot of expertise to share. And I'm excited to sort of share that with all of you. Here's the other thing about the old episodes. I bounced around a ton, right? Like I said a ton that I purposefully defined writer very broadly so that I could incorporate different kinds of guests, right? Like I had musicians on, I had game designers, I had authors, I had journalists, I had nonfiction writers, whatever. Like I spanned the gamut. I think I even had a stand-up comedian once. I spanned the gamut. I had anybody who could marginally call themselves a writer on the show. And that's the other thing the consultant said, is that I probably should stick with book authors, which honestly aligns more with what I do. Right? It actually does align more with me as an author and a fantasy writer to have other authors on because their following could connect to my following theoretically. They share the episode. Not only could they listen to the episode, but they might also follow me in the things that I do in my writing journey. And that's great. The original purpose of this podcast was to find a space for people to discover me and discover my writing. Like this podcast was meant to be a promotional tool for the writing career. And I talked about this last year, that this podcast did sort of take on a life of its own. I love doing it. It was a joy to do. And I had a lot of great responses. I got quite a few messages from people who are listeners telling me how much they liked it or how much they got out of an episode or how much they related to something I talked about in an intro. And those things are so important to me still. And I still hold those very close. And it's why I still do this, and also why I want to see this podcast keep going, because I want to be able to provide those moments to these people who have been with me for so long. So first of all, sorry about the long hiatus. It's been 3 months, maybe more. But I'm a teacher, so the end of the school year was happening and it was a lot. So I just sort of took a minute, took a breath to stop and dig into it. And then I took the summer to bank up a bunch of episodes. So we have a bunch of episodes coming for the rest of this year. And we'll have more coming. I'll be shooting more as we go through the year. But we have a lot of exciting things that I've already shot for you now, which is kind of exciting because it means that I can focus on writing and also being a full-time English teacher through the year and not be as stressed about things like making sure that I can create episodes. On top of that, and I think this is interesting and cool for you guys, I'm going to be doing the mini-sodes still, but they're going to change a little bit also. The mini-sodes before were kind of I was trying to go viral. I was trying to do things to get people to pay attention to us. I think I'm going to instead continue to do what this podcast will be doing, which is providing more practical advice for people who are writers, especially authors. I'll probably be doing videos and, and audio versions of it as well, but tutorials where I go through things like How do you put your book on Ingram Spark? How do you format your book? Like, what things do you do to practically make a book or create a company, or how do you like develop character? Just like a lot of really basic how-tos that I think a lot of authors know they need to know how to do. But the truth is, there's only so many people out there telling people how to do it. So I think that adding to that space is probably helpful. And anybody that are already following me can get those practical tips without me having to direct you to somebody else. And I feel like that might be useful. So that's going to be happening. But then I'm also going to be, so the intros are going to change too, right? Because the intros, you guys know, they're like this. They're long, they're meandering, they're personal, they're really cool updates about the things I'm working on. I love them. They make me feel a lot better. It's kind of like a short therapy session for me. But sometimes they don't connect at all to the episode. Oftentimes, my intros will go off on tangents that I never touch on the rest of the episode. And that feels maybe a bit ADHD in a way that isn't productive to new listeners of the podcast, because they click on a title that says this episode's about the horror genre, and then I talk about like some other thing happening in my writing for 20 minutes until we even get to the interview where we talk about that genre. So that is shifting. So the intros now are going to be very short. We're going to kind of quickly get into the interview. I'll introduce the topic, introduce why I care about it, pop into the interview. So that's going to change. But what that will open up is these mini-sodes. I'm going to have some where I basically do what the intros were. So basically every other mini-sode is going to be some sort of practical tip, some sort of like, hey, here's how do you do a thing to be an author. Then every other is going to be like those intros. So I'm going to be giving you some more practical tips. So we're not losing altogether those like really vulnerable, really, heart-wrenching things or personal updates, celebrations, and struggles. I'm going to be sharing all that stuff with you still, but it's going to be once a month. So not in every episode, but there will be a mini-sode that is basically that. And then you're going to be getting updates in where I am in my writing journey, because guys, my writing journey is still going. I may not have released anything for a minute, but we've got a lot of cool things in the works. We've got a short story collection coming out sometime this year. I'm still working out the details, getting all the stories in, but they look really good, and I'm excited for it. I read a few of these, and they're great. I think it's going to be a great collection of stories about loss. So that's coming out. So that's something Starlight King Press, my publisher, my publishing company that I own, that's happening later this year. Beyond that, I'm working on my next book, which I'm calling my debut novel, because guys, I released Tyranny of the Fae. Tyranny of the Fae is not a novel. Tyranny of the Fae, I had been calling a series of short stories. I think that realistically it's 3 separate novellas smashed into one book. And it's not like a cohesive narrative, right? Like there is some threads you can follow, but it's not a cohesive narrative, and it's purposefully not. It just was never intended to be. But the novel that I've been writing, I've even talked about it a good bit on this podcast. The novel that I started writing whenever I began this journey, I'm going to finally get to see through. And we're going to be releasing it in August of next year. I'm finishing up the edits right now. This is in the middle of the summer. So whenever I record, this is the middle of the summer. So whenever this comes out, it is probably likely mostly edited already, which is exciting and great. And I'm so thankful and I'm going to be there. And it's so cool for past self to get to say that, because future self feels pretty confident. In this moment, past self feels confident the future self has gotten it done. So let's hope that is accurate. Fingers crossed. But it'll mostly be edited by that point, and then it will be moving on to this like journey. And the truth is, guys, Tyranny of the Fae, and I think that I said this a lot of times last year, the year before that, Tyranny of the Fae was basically a proof of concept. I wrote these short stories. I released them because I thought they were good and deserved to be in the world. But it also allowed me to learn how to write, how to publish a book, how to promote it, like what are the things I need to learn. And also it allowed me to make a lot of connections. I met so many great authors through this podcast, but also through promoting the book at festivals and going to book signings and all those kinds of things. So I've made a lot of great friends over the course of the past 3 years by releasing Tyranny of the Fae, which is basically what the point of it was. So this cycle is going to be much more about Destined for Greater Things, which is officially the title of the book that's coming out. I've never mentioned that before. Destined for Greater Things is the title of my debut novel, which will be coming out in August of 2026. More details to come and you'll be following me every step of the way. So on those monthly minisodes, you're going to get updates about what I've done that month. And guys are going to be doing a lot each month because there's so much to do. And I can't wait to share it with you. Thank you all so much for following me this whole time. I can't tell you how grateful I am that you were with me in this previous era, which I am going to start calling the Tyranny of the Fae era, or the TOF era for those in the know. So, you know, I look back on those episodes fondly. I'm so grateful for what this podcast is and has done. And I'm so grateful for all of you that have stuck with me this whole time. You guys don't know what it means to get a message in my inbox that says, this thing I said resonated with you. Like, it makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I want to keep that up. But I want to provide a platform where you can maybe find other people like you that can you can get to know and work with and build a community here. So thank you so much. I hope that you can maybe start sharing out my stuff. If you've been following me this whole time, you probably are already. I just haven't noticed it. And just kind of let's get this thing off the ground. I feel like we have something good here. I feel like we've built something pretty exciting in the past, 50 or whatever episodes, and it's going to be great moving forward. So, what to expect? So, the next 2 episodes are going to be what I'm calling legacy episodes, much like the other episodes. So, these will technically be Tyranny of the Fae style episodes. They're going to be the swan song to that era of the podcast. So, if you were a fan of the old podcast, you're going to get 2 more episodes. So hang tight. Those are coming. I interviewed authors Aaron Aceves. That's going to be the next one up. Then I also interviewed Michael Solís. They're both great authors, great friends. I had a great conversation with them. That is coming soon. That is the next thing that's happening. After that, we're going to transition into the new era, ushering in these new topic-focused episodes. And honestly, I'm so excited to see what you guys think about them, because I think that they are going to be great. I think that they've been going well, and I can't wait for you guys to see what I've been working on all this time. So, thank you so much for supporting me. I can't wait to get back into this, for you guys to see everything, and also to just sort of like have community again when it comes to all of my writing, because, like I've been writing all summer. Again, I'm a teacher, so I had the summer off. So I really, really wrote and buckled down a lot over the summer. But I say it all the time. Writing is such an isolating experience. And being able to share this with you guys and my guests is going to make it so much easier. And I can't wait for you to be part of that process. So once again, I will talk to you soon. We'll be back next week. Next week will be the first episode of the new era, but with Aaron Aceves. So it's a legacy episode. So check that out. And then we will be moving forward. So see you next week for Aaron Aceves. Until next time, don't be afraid to tell your stories.